If you have a group of men dressed in a uniform and you have the right attitude, you can basically do whatever you want. And even if the police pull you over, there's not a lot of that a single officer or even two officers pulled you over, and you have 6 men like this, and these guys all have good assertive attitudes. There's not a lot that can be done, especially right there on the stop without it being premeditated. Now, in particular, I remember thinking about this as regards to military. If you have 6 military-looking guys, there's not a lot of people that are going to stop those guys from going around doing whatever they want, especially if they're seemingly on the side of the law. And that's pretty much what Jeremy Dewitte did with his men. I think he had the same idea, but he took it seriously and took it into adulthood and actually did it, which is pretty cool. A lot of people do that. It's called making like a security business. The problem is he did it the completely wrong way, and he skipped all the formal steps, which officiated it and made it legitimate. And then he continued to operate it in an illegitimate way. It was very antisocial, which is what got him noticed in the first place. So how did this investigation actually begin? I mean, if you see a small platoon of motorcycle officers circling around you like this, or you're going around your car or yelling at you or something, most people are going to obey their orders because that's the normal thing to do. Now, if you're an officer, when the officers pulled these guys over, a lot of times they were bamboozled and snookered into believing that this was a legitimate security team, a legitimate security company, which is why they would be dressing like this and making their cars like this and having it say enforcement, because they're security. And that's where everything fell apart, because they weren't really a security company. Jeremy had taken basic steps to register it as a company, set up an LLC, which basically creates its own person, its own entity. And then he got an EIN, which is an employer identification number, which is like your social security number. So now you have an entity name, which is officiated with the state, and then its own social security number, a federal tax ID number. Now he can open a bank account. That's why he actually registered the LLC, is so that he can get a bank account in the name of Metro State, and his name's not on it. Now, a real security company would have other steps as well, like trained, licensed officers. They would also have workman's compensation. They would also have a business license. And that's where it fell apart for Jeremy, because once he started getting pulled over, for years he was getting away with it because it looked like a legitimate security company. So the officers that are pulling him over would write him the ticket, and then Jeremy would get his people involved to get the tickets dismissed. So Jeremy could just get away with it forever. Now, a lot of the times Jeremy would get pulled over, but he would yell at the officer, convince the officer that he wasn't in the wrong, and the officer would just let him go. But he did get dozens of tickets, and all those tickets got dismissed over the years. The way it really fell apart for him is when he met Sergeant Vidler and John Ramsey, because those guys really started digging into Jeremy. And at first I thought it was very minor, because Sergeant Vidler, what set off this investigation is that Sergeant Vidler found out that he didn't have a business license. And I remember at first I was like, business license? I mean, give me a break, You're going to cite Jeremy for not having a business license? But that's actually making a lot of sense to me right now, because that's where the investigation would start, when they go to look up the company and they start finding out that it's not actually legitimate. That's when all the veneer pieces start falling apart. On the surface, these guys look legit. They even have a state authorized agency, which is their LLC. Plus, they have a special ops commando for a business owner, and they have other people like retired police and federal air marshals and stuff working under their wing. Plus, he's got a whole fleet of cars, and it all looks the part. But that darn business license gave him away. At one point, he went down, and I remember he was complaining, like, I paid the $15 fee to get the application, so that's approved now. Like, he was thinking it was no big deal. But it's the same with, like, a big criminal speeding down the highway. Maybe he was going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, but that's enough for a lot of these officers to pull them over and then start uncovering bigger crimes that are happening. And it's like that big criminal would be like, I was only going 5 miles an hour. Why are you arresting me and putting me in front of a jury trial? It's not because of the 5 miles an hour. It's because of everything that was discovered afterward. So everything that was discovered after that business license was found to be non-existent. That cued them on to start looking into other stuff. Like, does he have workman's comp for these employees? And workman's comp is like, we've never even heard of this guy. And then all of a sudden these employees, they're not employees anymore. All of a sudden they're contractors, and, the numbers varying from 10 to 30. And all of a sudden they see that nothing here is making sense and that this is not a legitimate security company. Then a little bit more digging, they find out that Jeremy Dewitte is not even allowed to be in this type of business or in the ambulance business because he's a registered felon. And what he's doing is finding women online that he seduces and then convinces them to be the front person on the paperwork and on the bank accounts so that he can run the business in the shadows. And it was all looking and working great for him for a long time. He was getting all the connections and everybody was believing him, even his officers. These guys, didn't really feel like they were breaking the law because they thought they had the law on their side because Jeremy. And everybody I've spoken to that has dealt with Jeremy, people that have given him loans, people that have been in business with him, people that have interacted with him, people that have sold him things, people that have bought things from him, they all say that he's a delusional, narcissistic liar. And one thing is clear through all these things is that they always say that he misled them and they were tricked by him and they feel dumb. Some of these people are like, I feel so foolish, but he really tricked everybody, even the trained officers. So there's no reason to feel like if you loaned him money, if you gave him a place to stay, if you fell in love with him, if you tried to do a business partnership with him, you found that he wasn't trustworthy after a while. And that's how everyone that he comes into contact with eventually finds out. He's very good at hiding that. Unfortunately, he recorded all this stuff, and now people online have added it all up, and he's totally exposed outside of his little circle that he had in Orange County, Florida. Now he's totally exposed online, and I think we all have a deeper understanding of being able to spot people like this out there in the wild, people that are impersonators or people that are running illegitimate security companies like this, who are going around abusing their police power where they have none. And it's usually headed up by some felon who's hiding in the who's hiding in the shadows and has a front person that's actually on the name of the business. And they're starting to uncover a lot of this. Anyway, a lot of people want to say that Real World Police is the OG of Jeremy Dewitte content, but that's not so. The OG of Jeremy Dewitte content is, of course, Jeremy Dewitte, but the second OG is Sergeant Keith Vidler and Corporal John Ramsey, who uncovered this whole conspiracy with Jeremy, just his little conspiracy that he was running with his company, but now it's actually being connected to larger political corruption that's actually in the political arena of Orange County, Florida, and other places throughout the state and the country. But it started right here with Jeremy and these two officers pulling on those strings, first finding that this is an illegitimate business. It started with something small and turned into a Florida RICO crime. And that's when everything got shut down. All of a sudden, all the political officers who were involved were like, shut this down. If this is going RICO, we don't want to follow this anymore. Like, shut it down. And now the officers are being punished. So a GoFundMe is set up to help with their legal defense fund because Vidler is going to be fired. Once he's fired, he has no more representation at the union with the appeals board or anything like that. So if he's fired, I'm helping them raise funds for their legal defense to help fight the corruption in the Orange County Sheriff's Office and help expose it. So the link is in the description for the GoFundMe if you want to go check that out. I appreciate Sergeant Keith Vidler and Corporal John Ramsey because they are the original people that brought us the ability to watch all this Jeremy Dewitte content for the last 2 years. So I salute them. Thank you for their service. I appreciate all you for watching. Make sure you like this video, comment down below, and subscribe for more. Talk to you later, and as always, have a great day.